across the immense plains of South Sudan, where the horizon stretches endlessly and the land carries the weight of ancient history in every crack of dry earth. One of Africa's most powerful natural dramas unfolds. This is a realm where survival is earned through speed, awareness, and resolve, a wild stage where every creature must struggle relentlessly to secure its place in the days ahead. Here, beneath a relentless sun and open skies, predators refine their tactics while prey sharpen their senses, knowing that a single misjudgment can mean the end. The savannas of South Sudan offer no refuge. Hunger, thirst, rivalry, and sudden encounters are not exceptions, but part of daily existence in this unforgiving landscape. Yet within this constant struggle lies an extraordinary natural phenomenon. South Sudan hosts one of the largest wildlife migrations on the African continent. Each year, millions of animals move across these plains, forming living currents that flow in search of grass, water, and the promise of survival. It is a journey that shapes destinies, testing endurance, separating the resilient from the vulnerable, and adding new chapters to nature's never-ending story of life in motion. At the heart of this expedition lie two remarkable landscapes. Little known beyond the scientific world, Boma National Park and Bandingilo National Park. Within these remote regions, more than 1 million wild animals move together along a shared natural corridor, forming an unbroken flow that has continued for generations. Among them stands an extraordinary sight: the vast herds of white-eared kob, numbering over 700,000 individuals, representing one of the largest gatherings of antelope anywhere on Earth. Unlike migrations governed by strict seasonal calendars, the Great Nile migration follows a far more fluid rhythm. Its timing is shaped by rainfall patterns and the rise and fall of the White Nile. When the first rains arrive, the river spills across the lowlands, flooding the southern plains and transforming the landscape into a vast reflective expanse where sky and earth seem to merge. As the waters recede, a fresh layer of tender grass emerges, soft, nutrient-rich, and irresistible, drawing the antelope back once more in search of nourishment. The herds move southeastward toward one of the last remaining frontiers of untouched grassland. This ancient savanna stretches unbroken by human development, a rare wilderness where natural processes still dominate. spanning nearly 40,000 square kilometers. It remains free of fences, paved roads, and the noise of the modern world, a sanctuary where nature continues to set the rules. While the Serengeti migration has become a global symbol of wildlife tourism, captured from every possible angle, the journey of the white-eared kob in South Sudan remains largely unseen. In a region increasingly vulnerable to climate change, the South Sudan grasslands endure as a living ecosystem, sustained by the delicate balance of the White Nile, a vast, life-giving artery that governs growth, movement, and survival for every species that depends upon it. The warm sun of South Sudan drapes itself gently over the tall grasses of the savanna. Every sense of the impala mother is fully engaged. Her body is taut with awareness. Ears pivot like finely tuned receivers, capturing the faintest sound, while flared nostrils read the invisible signals carried on the wind. At her side, a newborn calf takes its first uncertain steps into an unfamiliar world. The young impala's coat still glistens with the trace of birth. For now, its mother's presence is everything: shelter, warmth, and reassurance within an immense and unpredictable landscape. Patiently, the mother remains still, allowing her calf to learn the feel of the earth beneath unsteady legs. Within days, those fragile limbs will grow stronger, preparing the calf for its first burst of speed. But today, danger lies close. Hidden among scattered shrubs, a lioness waits, motionless, her gaze fixed on the smallest movement of the young impala. The predator's body is coiled like a spring. Every muscle is poised, the world narrowing to a single point of focus. At that critical moment, the impala mother makes a deliberate choice. She darts away in the opposite direction, drawing attention to herself and becoming the distraction. The risk is total, a calculated sacrifice made to shield her vulnerable offspring. For the briefest instant, The lioness shifts her focus. That moment is enough. The calf remains unharmed, untouched by the threat. For it, the hunt ends before it truly begins. Life carries on, even as the predator's eyes sweep the horizon once more, searching for another chance. Her own cubs are waiting, and hunger will soon drive her forward again. From the heart of the wetlands home to more than 1 million migratory animals moving in rhythm with the seasons, an absence can be felt. One of Africa's most agile and highly coordinated predators is missing the African wild dog. Its disappearance has left a profound gap in the balance of the ecosystem. In the past, these packs once moved freely through mud and reed beds taller than a human, carrying out group hunts with remarkable precision. Their success was the result of a biology refined over millions of years. Measuring between 1 and 1.5 meters in length and weighing just 18 to 36 kilograms. They are smaller than lions and more lightly built than leopards. Yet their muscular structure, especially in the shoulders and hind legs, makes them extraordinary athletes, built for endurance rather than brute strength. Their long limbs, supported by strong joints, are designed not for leaping but for covering vast distances. A flexible spine, efficient lungs, a powerful heart, and a deep chest allow them to sustain speeds of up to 48 kilometers per hour for several minutes at a time. They lack the crushing bite or sharp claws of big cats, but their evenly spaced, razor-like teeth are perfectly suited for tearing flesh quickly. Large ears serve a dual purpose, releasing excess heat and acting as sensitive receivers, picking up signals from pack members even in dense vegetation. Every hunt is a demonstration of cooperation and stamina. African wild dogs target the young, the old, or the weakened within herds of impala, cob, or gazelle. Rather than overpowering prey, they rely on relentless pursuit. Each member plays a role. Leaders steer the chase, others cut off escape routes, and the strongest close in from behind until the prey can no longer continue. This method, known as exhaustion hunting, depends entirely on teamwork and persistence. Under the intense sun, after the initial sprint where the prey runs at full speed, fatigue begins to take hold. Breathing becomes labored, movement slows. That is when the pack moves in, delivering coordinated bites to bring the chase to an end. From the first signs of exhaustion to the final moment, the process may last only a few minutes. One of the most remarkable traits of these canids is their collective decision-making. Hunts do not begin until consensus is reached. Researchers have documented a behavior known as a sneezing vote, in which each sneeze signals readiness. Once enough individuals participate, the pack sets off. This system contributes to their exceptional hunting success rate, estimated between 60 and 90%, far higher than that of any large feline in the region. Even feeding reflects their social structure. Pups and weaker members eat first, while adults later regurgitate food for those left behind. Survival here is sustained not by dominance, but by cooperation and discipline. In landscapes shaped by constant movement, wild dogs function like the pendulum of a clock, helping regulate the rhythm of life. Today, however, their future is uncertain. Global wild populations are estimated at only 6,000 to 600 individuals a month, with a very small number of mature adults. In the southern wetlands, recovery may already be out of reach. Recent surveys and migration maps show no signs of hunting packs in the upper marshlands. Perhaps this land has grown too quiet for a species that depends on space, communication, and constant motion. Even so, the legacy of the African wild dog remains a powerful testament to survival under extreme conditions. Their disappearance is not only a biological loss, but a quiet warning. When humanity neglects its responsibility to protect the natural world, the delicate harmony between species is broken like a timeless song cut short before its final note. In the regions where the Nile dissolves into a vast maze of endless swamps, and the air hangs heavy with humidity, an ancient giant emerges, the hippopotamus. Massive, rough-skinned, and seemingly forged from the river itself, it carries a primal strength refined over millions of years. Among the world's surviving semi-aquatic mammals, few inspire the same sense of power. Its evolutionary roots trace back to an ancient lineage shared with whales, creatures that once returned from the oceans to walk on land. One branch remained bound to wetlands, giving rise to the modern hippopotamus. Its body still reflects this distant past, a broad, barrel-shaped torso. Short yet incredibly powerful limbs and skin nearly 4 centimeters thick. Lacking true sweat glands, the hippo secretes a reddish fluid that resembles blood but is actually a natural blend of acids. This remarkable substance serves as both a sunblock and an antibacterial defense, protecting the animal from harsh sunlight and infection. A fully grown male can weigh up to 1/600 kilograms and stretch close to 5 meters in length. Its lower tusks, which may grow beyond half a meter, never stop growing and are used solely in combat. Although hippos are not ruminants and lack a specialized fermentation stomach, they can consume more than 40 kilograms of grass in a single night. During the day, they remain almost motionless beneath the water's surface to escape the heat. When night falls, they rise silently and move inland to graze. Hippos live in small social groups known as pods, usually numbering between 5 and 30 individuals. Each lagoon or calm river bend is dominated by a single male. Rather than defending territory itself, he controls access to females. Conflicts between rival males can be brutal, with tusks transforming from warning displays into lethal weapons capable of tearing flesh and crushing bone. Some encounters end in death. Few people realize that this colossal herbivore is not entirely plant-based. Under extreme conditions, hippos have been observed scavenging and even consuming meat, including the remains of their own species. While rare, this behavior reveals the species' capacity to adapt during periods of severe drought or food scarcity. With the arrival of seasonal rains, the river swells, fish populations surge, vegetation bursts into life, and migratory birds fill the skies. Within this cycle, the hippopotamus acts as a silent engineer of the wetlands. Its grazing and waste transport nutrients between grasslands and freshwater systems, rich in phosphorus and nitrogen. Hippo dung fuels microorganisms and algae that form the foundation of aquatic food webs, supporting fish, wading birds, and countless other species. By carving pathways with its immense body, the hippo also creates access to water for antelope, warthogs, and even human communities during the dry season. Despite its crucial ecological role, the hippopotamus now faces increasing pressure. Agricultural expansion, illegal fishing practices, and above all, poaching for its tusks, often used as substitutes for ivory, have pushed the species into a vulnerable state. According to the most recent IUCN assessment in 2024, the hippopotamus is officially classified as vulnerable, with its largest remaining population surviving quietly beneath the surface of the rivers that still protect them. Under the unforgiving sun, hippopotamuses snort and exhale powerful jets of water that rise like living fountains, their deep bellows echoing through the river channel like the engines of massive machines. Yet across the current, something far quieter and far deadlier remains concealed beneath the opaque water. Lurking unseen is the Nile crocodile, a predator that has ruled these waters since time beyond memory. This reptile is a living archive of the river itself, a shadow of deep history once carved into ancient stone as Sobek, the god of water, fertility, and protector of the pharaohs. Its lineage stretches back more than 55 million years. descending directly from reptiles that survived the mass extinction which erased the dinosaurs. Today, the Nile crocodile occupies waterways across 26 African nations. Its strongest populations are found in Eastern Africa, from Egypt through South Sudan and into Uganda. In places such as Murchison Falls National Park, where the Nile is forced through a narrow rocky gorge, individuals exceeding 5 meters in length and weighing over 1,000 kilograms have been documented. One of the crocodile's most remarkable adaptations is its mastery of body temperature. When water temperatures rise above 34 degrees Celsius, it retreats into shade or coats itself in wet mud to cool down. When conditions turn cooler, it lies motionless on sunlit banks, absorbing heat like a living stone. Beneath the water's surface, only its eyes and nostrils remain visible small, unblinking points among reeds and roots. Its body becomes almost perfectly still, and its heart rate can slow to fewer than 3 beats per minute. In this state, it can wait for hours, sometimes days, until prey makes a single fatal mistake. The crocodile does not pursue its victims. Instead, it positions itself where animals have no choice but to come close riverbanks, shrinking rain pools, or swamps that retain moisture during the dry season. When a target moves within 2 meters, the strike is instantaneous. Its jaws unleash one of the most powerful bites in the animal kingdom, delivering between 3,000 and 5,000 tsmos, greater than any other land-based predator. The initial strike usually targets the neck or limbs, immobilizing the victim. What follows is even more devastating: the death roll. In a violent spinning motion, the crocodile twists its body with immense force, tearing flesh, snapping bones, and dismantling prey as large as adult antelope or even buffalo. Once submerged, the method shifts to suffocation. After the first bite, the crocodile drags its prey into deep water or holds it beneath the surface until resistance fades. if the animal is too large to consume immediately. The crocodile secures the carcass in a quiet pool, wedged beneath rocks or vegetation. There, natural decomposition softens the flesh, allowing the predator to return and feed over several days. Yet despite being one of Africa's most formidable hunters, the Nile crocodile shares an unexpected and almost symbolic relationship with a much smaller creature, the Egyptian plover. This striking bird, recognized by its bold black and white plumage, inhabits the great rivers of eastern Africa and the highlands where the Nile begins its long journey north. On rare occasions, observers have witnessed a scene that feels lifted from ancient legend. A crocodile lies motionless along the riverbank, jaws stretched wide, resembling a fallen log split open by time. With remarkable calm, the plover descends, perches along the edge of the massive jaws, and delicately steps inside the reptile's mouth. There, it pecks at scraps of trapped food, parasites, and decaying tissue lodged between the teeth, a natural form of maintenance carried out in an atmosphere of astonishing trust. While science has yet to confirm that this interaction occurs consistently across all regions where both species coexist, many ecologists believe it reflects a subtle form of cooperation rarely acknowledged in the wild. Even between a supreme predator and a fragile bird, an unspoken understanding may exist, proof that nature's balance is built not only on conflict, but occasionally on quiet alliances. There, suspended between open sky and mirrored water, stands the motionless silhouette of the shoebill, an architect of lethal silence, and a striking example of how instinct and evolution converge into a singular form. Despite its common name, the whale-headed stork is not a true stork at all. Modern genetic research reveals that it is more closely related to pelicans than to traditional storks. Towering at nearly 1.5 meters tall, with a wingspan that can exceed 2.5 meters. The shoebill commands attention, yet its most defining feature is its extraordinary bill, broad and heavy, and unmistakable. Measuring roughly 25 centimeters in length and more than 12 centimeters across, and ending in a sharp, hook-like tip, it functions as a precision weapon, capable of ending a hunt in a single decisive strike. The shoebill is a master of patience. It can remain perfectly still for 4 to 5 hours, conserving energy and blending seamlessly into the wetland landscape. When a longfish, catfish, or other prey rises toward the surface, the bird explodes into action. Its massive bill slams downward with remarkable speed and force, often crushing the spine of its victim instantly, an efficient and deadly conclusion to one of nature's quietest hunts. Rather than relying on speed or coordinated chases like many predators, the sitatunga survives through patience and precision. It moves with slow, deliberate steps across soft mud, where every blade of grass and gentle ripple of water becomes a silent ally. The flooded wetlands themselves serve as natural camouflage, shielding this elusive antelope and allowing it to exist quietly yet confidently. Its long, wide hooves, reaching up to 18 centimeters in length, are perfectly adapted to spread its weight, preventing it from sinking into waterlogged ground. Adult males stand between 81 and 100 centimeters at the shoulder, with a body length of up to 160 centimeters and a weight ranging from 76 to 90 kilograms. Females are noticeably smaller, measuring around 70 to 80 centimeters in height and weighing between 24 and 45 kilograms. Their coats are a rich, deep brown that darkens with age, marked by pale white stripes that shimmer like reflections dancing across the dark surface of swamp water. The sitatunga feeds on a remarkably varied diet, consuming more than 40 species of plants. Tender grasses, fresh shoots, and aquatic vegetation such as cattails and sedges form the core of its nutrition, helping maintain balance within wetland ecosystems. Yet despite its specialization, the sitatunga remains an integral part of the food chain, falling prey to lions, leopards, crocodiles, and African wild dogs. When danger approaches, its response is not a frantic escape. Instead, the sitatunga slips soundlessly into the water. Only its nostrils and eyes remain above the surface like two small pearls floating in the swamp before it vanishes completely into the wetlands, leaving no trace behind. While the savanna of South Sudan still bears the invisible signatures of predators below, the sky suddenly fills with a sharp, unmistakable sound. It is neither thunder nor wind, but a clear, ringing cry that cuts through the humid air of the wetlands, the call of the African fish eagle. Powerful, resonant, and unmistakable. This voice has become one of the most iconic sounds of the African wilderness, announcing its presence long before the bird itself is seen. With a wingspan that can stretch up to 2.4 meters, a body length of 63 to 75 centimeters, and a weight ranging from 2 to 4.4 kilograms, the African fish eagle needs no extravagant plumage to command respect. Its mere silhouette is enough to draw attention across the landscape. A bright white head and chest form a striking crown against the deep brown of its wings and body, blending seamlessly with riverbanks and marsh vegetation. Beneath this regal appearance, piercing yellow eyes remain fixed on the water below, scanning for the slightest movement. Perched high on overhanging branches or resting on exposed river islands, the fish eagle waits in absolute stillness. The moment a disturbance ripples across the surface, it launches into a swift, controlled dive. Its range extends across nearly all of Africa wherever open water exists. The fish eagle is rarely far away. Though it does not undertake long migrations, it adjusts its position with the seasons, shifting toward river centers during floods and returning to the shallows as water levels recede and prey becomes more accessible. Its hunting technique is a balance of patience and explosive precision. Armed with powerful curved talons, the eagle can lift fish weighing up to 4.2 kilograms straight from the water. If the catch proves too heavy, it paddles toward shore with strong wing beats, refusing to release its prize. While fish make up the bulk of its diet, it also takes frogs, turtles, small birds, and carrion. Opportunistic by nature, it will not hesitate to steal prey from other birds, including marabou storks or shoebills, when the chance arises. Beyond its ecological role, the African fish eagle holds deep cultural significance, featured on the national coat of arms of South Sudan. It symbolizes freedom, resilience, and the untamed spirit of Africa itself. In its cry echoes the enduring power of wild landscapes unbroken, watchful, and alive. Silently, another bird arrives. The marabou stork appears only after the heavy footsteps of elephants have faded and the echo of the fish eagle's call has dissolved into stillness. It comes not as a hunter, but as a quiet specialist ready to assume a role that is far from glamorous, yet absolutely essential to life on the savanna. Standing up to 1.5 meters tall, With a wingspan approaching 2.6 meters and weighing around 9 kilograms, the marabou often appears alone like a solitary statue rising from dry grasslands or lingering at the edges of flooded marshes. Its bare head and neck, deep-set dark eyes, and the large pendulous pouch hanging from its throat give it an unsettling, almost prehistoric presence. This appearance is no accident. The marabou stork is perfectly adapted for a task few creatures are equipped to perform: processing death. It does not chase prey or launch ambushes. Instead, it watches from above, waiting patiently until a white-eared cob, a tiang, or a reedbuck collapses after the strain of migration. With its long, razor-sharp bill, it tears through flesh efficiently, while its exceptional resistance to bacteria allows it to consume carcasses in advanced stages of decay, remains that most scavengers could not endure. In flooded wetlands, marabou storks often move in small groups of 5 to 30 individuals, tracking the great movements of wildlife. They gather in shallow waters where receding floods trap remains left behind by the migration. These sites become feeding hubs, where a single carcass can sustain an entire group for days. Unlike vultures, marabous rarely fight or compete aggressively. They move quietly among the remains, taking what others leave behind. When carrion is scarce, their flexible diet allows them to survive by hunting small fish, frogs, lizards, young snakes, and insects, an adaptability that ensures survival even during lean seasons. During the dry months, when temperatures soar, the marabou relies on a cooling mechanism known as urohydrosis. By releasing liquid waste onto its legs, it cools its body through evaporation, much like water poured onto hot stone. It also limits its activity to dawn and dusk, avoiding the intense heat of midday. In flight, the marabou stork rides rising thermal currents above the wetlands, gliding vast distances without a single wing beat. This energy-efficient travel expands its reach across the landscape. Though its appearance may inspire unease, the marabou fulfills a critical ecological role, reducing the spread of disease by clearing animal remains. In doing so, it serves as the wetland's natural sanitation force, quietly maintaining balance where life and death inevitably meet. As the final rays of sunlight fade across the plains of South Sudan, the savanna appears to settle into rest. But here, the struggle never truly ends. Every species, large or small, has fought through another day against hunger, drought, predators, and fate itself. Each breath taken, each step earned, stands as proof of a natural world locked in a constant contest with itself, brutal, yet undeniably beautiful. South Sudan is more than a wilderness. It is a living testament to the most fundamental instinct on earth, the will to endure. The vast migrations that sweep across these lands, the ingenious strategies used to evade death, and the fierce confrontations that decide who survives and who falls, all form part of an ancient cycle, one that has shaped life in Africa long before human memory began. Yet within this raw grandeur lies a growing responsibility. Climate change, habitat degradation, and expanding human pressure now threaten a balance that is as fragile as it is sacred. In response, conservation efforts across South Sudan and the wider continent strive to protect wildlife, restore ecosystems, and ensure that this timeless dance of life continues for generations to come. Because safeguarding wild animals is about more than protecting species. It is about preserving culture, history, biodiversity, and the very soul of our planet. May this journey serve as a reminder that nature is not merely a spectacle, it is a legacy, and caring for it may be the greatest expression of our humanity. If this journey into the heart of South Sudan's savanna moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Your support allows us to keep exploring and sharing the wildest landscapes and the most powerful stories from the animal kingdom. The land splits into long fractures that cut across the plain like ancient scars. A heavy veil of dust drifts close to the ground, stretching toward the horizon. Above, thin clouds scatter, allowing sunlight to pour through and strike the hardened surface below. There is no flowing river here, yet the earth begins to tremble. Across the cracked crust, thousands of hooves strike in unison. With every step, dust erupts and spreads outward. The first animals move forward, and behind them the surge continues. Grasses bend in the direction of travel, carving a pathway that seems to have no end. The entire savanna moves to a single rhythm. From the open plains of the Serengeti to the gentle lowlands of the Masai Mara, the ground is no longer still. Herds of every size advance with the wind, guided by distant signs of rain. Each journey is part of a greater cycle, where survival depends on a migration timed with remarkable precision. Nothing in this ecosystem remains unchanged. It shifts with the seasons, with water, with the growth of grass, and with the passage of each herd. Every species plays a defined role, and every behavior helps sustain the pulse that keeps the plains alive. When one species begins to move, another immediately adjusts its course. As grass is grazed down to the soil, waste returns vital nutrients to the ground. When prey falls, decomposers are already in place. Together, the Serengeti Masai Mara region functions as one of East Africa's central biological engines. Energy is generated the moment hooves strike the earth and is carried onward through every mouthful of grass, every chase, and every fallen body. Nothing in this system exists without purpose. Each element matters only when it flows with the natural rhythm. Across these untamed grasslands, the Great Migration draws all forms of life into a powerful predatory cycle that never truly pauses. Fresh shoots blanket the land after recent rains, their narrow leaves bent in unison by the wind. On the open plains, newborn calves stumble away from the birthing grounds and merge into the moving mass of adults, advancing without hesitation. do not wait for strength to build. Motion begins at once. As the rainy season reaches the southern edge of the Serengeti, wildebeest herds leave their calving areas. The first groups cross the damp earth, trampling young growth and etching their path across the plain. The movement does not break. Smaller groups merge into larger bodies as herds from different directions converge along shared corridors. Routes may shift, but the overall direction remains unchanged. The pace is steady and relentless. Under thousands of hooves, the ground yields, forming deep impressions. Grass is pressed flat. Droppings fall in an unbroken pattern. The air grows heavy with the scent of bodies, waste, and churned soil. Every footprint marks the passage of a living current sweeping across the savanna. New life quickly appears in its wake. Dung beetles burrow beneath fresh mounds. Low-flying birds follow closely, and weaker wildebeest begin to lag behind. Their presence draws scavengers and predators waiting along the edges. The migration cuts through the grasslands, opening pathways that other species soon follow. Tall grasses vanish, old roots are broken, and the soil is loosened by hooves and organic matter. Each area they cross becomes a zone of biological renewal after the dry season. Every wildebeest plays a direct role while alive. They deposit nutrients and chemical traces. In death, their bodies become centers of decomposition. Birds, insects, and microbes arrive in layers. There is no need to search. Food is already available for scavengers. There is no delay. Beetles immediately begin their work. There is no isolation. Predators simply watch and wait for those that slip behind the flow. All life benefits from this concentrated movement. Wildebeest do not create the ecosystem, but they set it in motion. Microbial communities in the soil awaken as organic matter surges through the system. Other species begin their own journeys as the wild pulse passes. This ecosystem does not operate by chance. It responds precisely to the signals released by the migration. As the wildebeest press forward, the grazing zones along their migratory corridor are reshaped in real time. Life concentrates along their path, and every place they touch becomes a link between multiple biological layers. No single species clears the way alone. No cycle begins without a trigger. Reproduction follows the rhythm of the rains while the soil still holds moisture. New life is born. The moment the calves are able to stand, the herd moves on again. This tight synchronization offers protection from immediate predators, but it also sends powerful signals through the entire system. The landscape left behind changes rapidly. Grass sprouts where it was once trampled. Bacteria break down organic remains, and moisture is retained near the surface thanks to the fresh input of nutrients. For a time, each area crossed by the herd becomes a center of biological renewal. Other grazers arrive later, taking advantage of what remains. Older vegetation has already been consumed, allowing shorter, younger grasses to flourish. There is no direct competition. Many species rely on the wildebeest's passage as a natural process of clearing and renewal. The soil stays loose, roots spread more easily, and conditions align for the next cycle. The moving mass of wildebeest also reshapes the strategies of predators. Hunters must adjust their breeding seasons, ambush tactics, and territories according to the herd's pace and direction. Scavenging birds track the places where carcasses appear. Vultures, crows, and wild dogs gather around zones marked by decay. The ecosystem keeps time like a living structure. Rain may set the stage, but the wildebeest herd is the first mechanism to turn. single animal chooses the route, yet together they generate enough momentum to drive the entire system. On the living map of the region, the wildebeest migration acts like a heartbeat. Each year, that pulse returns. From the southern calving grounds to the northern grasslands, every stretch of land responds in a predictable sequence. Other species do not exist because of the wildebeest alone, but the functioning of the system begins with their passage. Nothing in the herd's behavior happens in isolation. Every hoof that strikes the ground sets change in motion. The land shifts, vegetation is redistributed, and new life emerges. This is why wildebeest signal the beginning of the life cycle in East Africa, not because they are the strongest or the fastest, but because their first step sets the entire ecosystem in motion. Each year, when the first rains return and soften the land, a single hoof meets the ground once more. From that moment of contact, the cycle of life begins again. Short grasses spread across the damp soil at dawn. The air is still. At the edge of a shallow hollow, a pride of lions lies pressed low, concealed among scattered shrubs. Early light washes over their backs, blending with earth darkened by heat. In the distance, a wildebeest herd advances. The groups stretch into loose lines, shifting direction as they follow the low ground. Gaps begin to open between individuals. Young calves drift toward the edges, and the lions hold their ground, using the contours of the land, moving in wide, deliberate arcs. Each hunter keeps a precise distance. Angles of approach tighten from multiple sides. There is no warning, no prolonged chase. As the herd crosses the depression, the moment unfolds. One animal becomes separated. Its escape route narrows. An open patch of ground becomes the point where motion ends. The prey falls, and the grass is pressed flat beneath it. The lions spread out around the body. One secures the kill, while the others melt back into cover. The landscape settles into silence. Wind moves on. There is no struggle, no further disturbance. Hoofprints remain etched into the loosened soil. The scent of blood begins to drift close to the ground. This hunt is driven by precision, not speed. Lions do not rely on long chases. They succeed through positioning, spacing, and a deep understanding of herd movement. Each individual plays a role. When the distance closes, force is applied together. Often, prey is taken in moments of imbalance, too far from protection and too close to avoid the closing circle. The outcome is shaped by natural behavior, not by chance or error. Once selected, the prey cannot recover its position. High above, scavenging birds sense the warmth of the body and begin to circle at altitude. On the ground, beetles detect the organic scent released into the air. Decomposers arrive even before the lions leave the site. Within hours, the soil around the carcass darkens, their fluids seep into the base of the grasses. Roots draw in the nutrients. Soil bacteria cling to what remains. New shoots begin to rise, guided by heat, moisture, and nitrogen. By afternoon, the pride rests beneath low trees stretched along the brush. Around them, the grass stands still once more. No major movement follows. The marks of their paws extend across the softened paths and fade at the edge of the plain. The morning hunt leaves no sound behind, but the land retains its evidence-absorbed fluids, embedded bones, and microbial changes already underway. Short grass spreads evenly across the open landscape, carrying forward the quiet imprint of what has passed. The ground is dry and fragile. Beneath low shrubs pressed close to the earth, a leopard moves without sound through narrow gaps. Its body stays flattened against the soil, detached from any motion above. The wind shifts again and again, pushing patches of grass in different directions. Nothing breaks the boundary of dust and shadow. The distance closes steadily, without disturbing the scene. Ahead, a group of Thompson's gazelles feeds, spaced in loose, even lines. Younger animals linger toward the outer edges, drifting with the breeze. Between hunter and herd, there is no cover, only open, arid ground. The leopard maintains a measured pace, making no sudden adjustments and never rushing the moment. At a workable range, it pauses beside a small rise. Its body folds into the edge of shade. The landscape holds its breath. When a leopard hunts on open plains, conditions must align gentle undulations in the land, evenly scattered shrubs, and prey that remains spread out rather than tightly grouped. Hunting alone leaves no margin for recovery once detected. A single misstep sharply reduces the chance of success. There is no partner to disrupt the herd, no coordinated retreat. Every phase depends on closing the gap with absolute precision. If that limit is crossed, the prey reacts and control is lost. The leopard is not built for endurance across open ground. Its strength lies in short bursts of speed. Each chase unfolds over a brief distance. If the line breaks or the gazelle responds instantly, The attempt fails, and failure is more common than success. Not due to a lack of skill, but because the leopard's hunting space is shaped by countless variables: wind direction, sun angle, grass height, and prey distribution. Even so, its presence alone alters gazelle behavior. Small herds rarely remain spread out in exposed areas. Youngsters draw closer to their mothers. Feeding pauses. Groups quicken their pace when crossing zones with limited visibility. A successful kill is not required to leave an effect. The mere appearance of a leopard reshapes herd formation and rest patterns. Grazing cycles shift, reducing pressure on a single spot and spreading vegetation use more evenly across the region. Leopards do not challenge lions or hyenas through open conflict. Their solitary approach adds a second layer of influence. They avoid direct competition, yet they shape how prey occupies the landscape. No herd stays concentrated for long. No herbivore holds prolonged control over the plains. This irregular presence forces prey to disperse in search of lower risk. No group maintains the same structure long enough to damage grass growth. No area is stripped bare. The pressure is subtle but constant. A baseline level of alertness persists, even without active hunts. The leopard favors isolation and leaves little trace. It draws no gatherings of scavengers. Small prey is consumed quickly, leaving minimal remains and little scent to attract larger species. By selecting smaller animals, the leopard limits interference and avoids attention. Its role rarely sparks conflict within the predator network. As evening approaches, it withdraws quietly from the edge of the plain. Across the Grumeti Plains, the ground bears fine cracks left by a brief dry spell. Fresh grass has emerged, though it has not yet grown dense. Moving through the open landscape, a herd of zebras advances in a broad, organized line. Their passage raises little dust. The great wildebeest herds are still distant, not yet reaching this transitional zone. Striped bodies glide across the plain, trimming the grass as they head east and northeast. Shadows stretch over the pale soil. Larger individuals hold a steady pace, while smaller groups remain along the edges. The leading position shifts constantly. Their route is traced as a lighter band across the land. Grass bends and flattens into a gentle arc. Zebras typically travel ahead of the main migratory waves. They enter areas still untouched by hooves, following paths of their own. No collective signal is required. As soon as rainfall is sufficient to lift the grass slightly, the herd begins to move. Their journey remains local, yet it consistently precedes the peak of migration. This timing introduces a different rhythm into the system. Zebras do not wait for grass to reach its most tender stage. They arrive early, feeding on the upper portions of the stems and leaving the lower layers undisturbed. When other grazers follow later, the grass has already been trimmed closer to the ground, better suited to their feeding styles. As the herd crosses the region, it leaves a clear grazing line shaped by the direction of the wind. Vegetation is cut evenly. Low shrubs lose much of their cover, allowing more sunlight to reach the soil. The landscape becomes brighter and more open. Understory plants begin to reorganize in response to the new structure. Throughout their movement, zebras do not maintain rigid formations. They travel in spaced groups, widening the grazing corridor. At shallow water sources, the herd breaks into smaller units, each using different patches of vegetation depending on the terrain. This division creates a layered effect. Every cleared section becomes accessible to other life forms. From insects and ground birds to small herbivores, no single area remains crowded for long. The remaining biological layers are reshaped evenly across the plain. Zebras do not graze down to the roots. They affect only the upper growth, preserving the base. This residual layer becomes ideal for low-grazing species such as gazelles, warthogs, and smaller trailing groups of wildebeest. By moving first, zebras slow the intensity of impact caused by the larger herds that arrive later. Their breeding is not concentrated in one mass, allowing them to split freely into smaller groups. These units move independently without disrupting the broader migratory cycle. Each advances at its own pace, giving grasslands time to recover. No area becomes a lasting bottleneck within the system. When predators draw near, zebras do not respond by tightening into a dense mass. Instead, they fan out across open ground, breaking formation rather than compressing it. This behavior disrupts hunting strategies that rely on confusion within tight groups. By spreading apart, the pressure of pursuit is diluted, increasing escape opportunities for other species sharing the landscape. The tracks zebras leave behind are shallow yet continuous. Their droppings fall widely spaced instead of accumulating in heavy clusters. This even distribution enriches the soil surface, helping the grass retain moisture at its base. From these scattered nutrients, soil bacteria begin to expand. Dung beetles soon arrive, drawn by scent, turning and loosening the earth so new roots can take hold. From an ecological standpoint, zebras create a horizontal flow of biological movement. Their impact lacks the vertical force of wildebeest hooves or the concentrated pressure exerted by buffalo. But this steady passage reduces direct stress on the land. the ground absorbs a lighter, prolonged influence that is spread evenly across the plains. Predators adjust their routines to follow zebra movements, increasing the chances of successful ambushes. Lions, hyenas, and wild dogs position themselves in areas not yet reshaped by massive herds. Before the main migration arrives, regions such as grumeti function as independent hunting grounds. As a result, predation pressure is distributed more evenly over time. Zebras do not impose an intense biological load, but they help disperse its effects. The system absorbs this energy at multiple points. The soil is not disturbed for extended periods. Roots retain part of their protective layer, and recovery cycles resume more quickly after each change. During transitional seasons, if only the Great Migration crossed these plains, the land would bear the full force in a very short window. The soil would not have time to recover. Microorganisms would also struggle to multiply fast enough. Grass would be torn out by the roots rather than simply trimmed. Without zebra herds, the migratory corridor would lose its first layer of distribution. Predator activity would become compressed into fewer moments, and restoration cycles would lack a buffer. The grassland would shift in color more rapidly, exposing roots too early. The ecosystem would lose its characteristic resilience, becoming a narrow and fragile passage across open terrain. Zebras leave no dramatic aftermath, yet each passing group clears the surface, opens sight lines, and allows wind to move freely for a brief time. Every quiet wave of migration strengthens the system. It is this staggered, subtle rhythm that prevents the entire migratory movement from collapsing into a single, overwhelming surge. Across the open grassland, a narrow path cuts through the plain. Dust lifts lightly along a zigzag line, while the wind slips through mid-height grasses, carrying traces of movement that have not yet faded. Thompson's gazelles appear in small, scattered clusters, each animal keeping a carefully measured distance, guided by finely tuned instinct. On bare ground, there are no obstacles and no tall cover. Every movement is swift, marked by sudden turns that shorten the time spent within a predator's line of sight. When danger emerges on the horizon, the gazelles spring away on diagonal paths. Their escape routes curve unpredictably, forming a web of motion that is nearly impossible to read. Within moments, the group's structure loosens under outward pressure, then reforms once the threat passes. Calving takes place in isolated spots across the dry plain. The gazelles do not gather, nor do they remain in one place. Each female selects her own patch of short grass and moves at her own pace. As soon as the young can stand, the group shifts again, leaving no clear traces and no prolonged pauses. This scattered strategy prevents gazelles from becoming easy targets. Lions, hyenas, and leopards usually succeed only when an individual strays too far from the group's flow. Most maintain a steady rhythm, avoiding major breaks in formation. Speed aids their escape, but it is their unpredictable direction that most often disrupts an ambush. In such an exposed landscape, there is no true shelter. Gazelles turn openness itself into a defense. The clearer the space, the lower the risk. During the peak of the dry season, they make up much of the remaining biomass, while larger herds like wildebeest and zebras have already moved on. Gazelles continue to travel steadily across the plains. They graze close to the ground, feeding on shoots that have not been trampled. Their constant motion prevents the grass from losing its color entirely. Each passage attracts small scavengers, field insects, and ground-dwelling birds. Their hooves leave shallow impressions that hold moisture just long enough for new growth to emerge. Areas crossed by gazelles often recover faster than untouched ground. Their ability to leave sensitive spots and return from different directions sustains a continuous rhythm of life. No species can survive by remaining fixed in one pattern here. Persistence depends on movement without permanent roots. Gazelle groups connect scattered pockets of life into a lasting biological flow. They serve as a buffer between top predators and lower levels of the food web. Without triggering population surges, they help maintain surface stability. When gazelles vanish from a region, the middle layer of prey collapses, forcing predators to shift abruptly and disrupting the natural order. The ecosystem loses its balancing force. Within the vast movement of the Serengeti Mara, gazelles act like a seam between ecological layers, thin yet vital. Each time they skim the ground in flight, they leave a subtle imprint. From that imprint, the rhythm of life holds its balance. After a night of rain, the ground remains damp, and a low mist still clings to the grass. From a shallow hollow at the edge of the plain rises a sour scent, the unmistakable sign of old flesh. Lying on its side is a carcass, the hide torn open in a long, ragged seam. Spotted hyenas approach from different points on the horizon. Within the group, order is precise. Each animal takes a position around the body without chaos or struggle. Powerful jaws tear effortlessly through tissue, stripping away large sections of meat and exposing bare bone. Slowly, the carcass is reduced and scattered by wind and movement. As the main structure collapses, younger hyenas move in from the edges. Their teeth are not searching for soft flesh. They lock into joints, separate limbs, and remove the final fragments clinging to bone. Only dry soil adheres to the exposed marrow. Everything else is broken down into small, disappearing pieces. Hyenas operate as a highly organized unit. Dominant individuals choose moments to hunt when conditions favor them. It is not an ending for predators or prey, but for the entire cycle that begins again where flesh breaks down. No presence interrupts and regulates the system as effectively as the hyena. They enter hunting grounds, tear flesh from powerful animals, and consume what remains. When they leave, the land is clean. No odor, no residue, no biological risk. On the living map of the savanna, where every creature leaves behind waste, only the hyena turns those remnants into a starting point. No other animal consumes what is left at the very end. When all have moved on, only dust remains, and the distant echo of the hyena, marking clearly that the cycle is complete and the ground is ready to begin again. Across the vast African plains, the great migrations reveal survival in its purest form. Every crossing, every shift in direction, every split-second choice can determine who endures and who falls behind. Danger is ever-present, unseen predators, deceptive rivers, and a harsh landscape that tests even the strongest bodies and instincts. Yet despite these risks, millions of animals press forward, driven by an ancient impulse to endure, adapt, and keep moving. In this endless journey, unity becomes strength, resolve becomes protection, and survival stands as the sole objective. With this, we conclude our exploration of one of the most powerful and extraordinary spectacles in the natural world. Across the vast and unforgiving savannas of Ethiopia, survival is not shaped by moments of calm, but by constant struggle. Each day unfolds as a new trial where even the most unlikely encounters can grow into legend. Among these is one of the most remarkable rivalries ever witnessed, a silent, enduring clash between baboons and lions. In this landscape, baboons are anything but defenseless. United, watchful, and strikingly bold, they challenge the very predators that dominate the plains. Lions, the undisputed rulers of the savanna, do not forget easily. What may begin as a failed hunt can escalate into something far more intense. Deliberate act of retaliation that disrupts the expected balance of the wild. Here in Ethiopia, collective awareness can be as powerful as claws, and courage can stand equal to raw strength. Every glance holds a warning. Every movement carries tension. There is no refuge for weakness, no room for error. In this world, a single moment of hesitation can shape an entire fate. On the scorched cliffs of Ethiopia's high plateau, currents of wind slip through jagged, dust-covered rocks, carrying the dry scent of parched earth and the faint murmur of a land that feels on the verge of collapse. There, within a restless troop of baboons, a young one witnessed something no juvenile should ever see: the fall of its mother, not at the hands of its own kind, but beneath the silent grip of a leopard, the unseen hunter of the thickets. From that moment on, the idea of retribution began to take root within the clan. Dawn crept across the plateau beneath a veil of pale mist. The wind moved through scattered shrubs, lifting dust and dispersing the quiet echoes of early morning. A group of francolines scratched through the leaf litter in search of insects until the deep, resonant calls of the baboons echoed against the stone ridges, sending them suddenly into flight. Timu, only a few months old, had just begun to take his first steps into the search for food and the difficult skill of climbing. Yet he was pushed aside by his own troop. His mother had fallen to a predator long before leaving him to wander alone among rocks and thorny brush. In his aimless drifting, he eventually crossed paths with other outcast males. At first there was only suspicion, but the cold of night and the ache of hunger forced them to share what little they had: fruit, shelter, and warmth. In that harsh openness, a fragile alliance emerged, bound not by kinship, but by the simple need to survive. As the years passed, no one guided Timu along the path of survival, and it was precisely that absence that shaped him. From a vulnerable and abandoned infant, he hardened into something far more formidable. His body grew strong, his features sharpened like fractured stone. Fear no longer held him still. Instead, it drove him to observe, to remember, and to anticipate. Many believed he would not last yet among thorns and constant threats he endured. He learned how to find food, how to evade hostile claws, and how to choose safe places to rest. At one point, a lioness shadowed his group for days, her amber eyes watching from a distance. That golden presence would appear at dusk, forcing them to shift their paths and routines. Without realizing it, this relentless pressure awakened new instincts within them. Silent coordination glances that carried meaning and a constant readiness to face danger. In Timu's mind, the loss of his mother never faded. It was more than memory, it was a quiet force that drove him forward. He understood that before settling any unseen debt, he had to grow stronger and confront a world already fractured from within. Every scar, every sleepless freezing dawn, and every brush with death forged him into something new, resilient, cunning, and formidable. While Timu was being shaped into a hardened survivor among rock and thorn far from the plateau, another creature was also evolving, its existence defined by intelligence and the ability to adapt. Not far from the baboons' range in a shadowed valley wrapped in the density of night, a low, cutting laugh broke the silence. One not of joy, but of intent. It was the unmistakable call of the brown hyena, a discreet and often overlooked predator compared to more renowned hunters. Among them stood Narka, a female who had lived long enough to witness the rise and fall of 2 generations of baboon leaders. Narka did not possess the size or regal presence of a lion, but she held something Timu was only beginning to understand: the patience of a true hunter. She was more than a fleeting shadow among the rocks. She had become a bold explorer of territories few dared to enter, including the windswept, salt-laced coastline of Ethiopia. The sun now ruled the sky, and the sea cast blinding reflections that shattered against the cliffs like scattered sparks. Along the rocks, large male sea lions lounged heavily, their dark coats glistening as they grumbled and yawned, competing for the best resting spots under the heat. Closer to the shoreline, newborn pups, still marked with faint spots, lay clustered together, unaware of any danger, lulled by the rhythm of waves and the heavy scent of salt in the air. This was the moment Narka had been waiting for. She moved across the soft dunes, slipping between coastal shrubs before suddenly freezing in place. The fur along her neck bristled. The wind had shifted, carrying with it an unwelcome scent. A nearby black-backed jackal was on the move. There were no drawn-out chases, no explosive clashes, just a single precise action that secured enough food for her cubs on a cold afternoon. From a distant rise, Narka watched the shoreline in silence. The ocean continued to shimmer in silver light, unchanged, as though nothing had happened. But for her, that stretch of sand had already become part of her domain. A territory claimed not by strength alone, but by patience and stealth. As twilight stretched its shadows across the coast, Narka returned to the rocky den where small, gleaming eyes awaited her. The jackals had retreated, and she came back with enough to feed her young, a quiet victory, unspoken yet decisive. While Narka's cubs slept tucked between cold stones, protected by the warmth of their group far inland, the dry plateau held a different story. Another community was beginning to shift. The baboon troop led by Raka carried on with its routine as if nothing had changed, but the atmosphere had grown heavy, unsettled in ways no one openly acknowledged. The scent of scorched grass lingered in the air, leaves whispered with restless movement, and the unusual silence among the females hinted at a tension no one could ignore. Raka, despite his age, remained a feared leader seated upon the great rock that had long served as his symbolic throne. His thick, dark mane was now streaked with gray, yet his gaze still held its edge. He would snarl when younger males ventured too close to the females, baring his teeth in warning, though his limbs no longer carried the same okua and certainty they once did. His former strength had faded. For him, authority no longer depended on present power, but on the memory of violence still etched into the minds of the troop. Then one morning, a sound at the edge of the territory caused several Axalgazurda males to lift their heads in unison. On the horizon, a figure appeared strangely familiar, yet undeniably changed. It was Timu. There was no trace left of the fragile outcast he once was. He had returned broader, his muscles defined his expression as sharp as fractured stone. And he was not alone. Behind him came other males hardened by life beyond the safety of the group. Silence spread like a shadow. From his high vantage point, Raka watched closely. For the first time in many seasons, his eyes showed not rage, but restraint and calculation. The confrontation could not be avoided, and when Raka finally fell, Timu did not build his rule on fear. Instead, he shared leadership with his allies, allowed the females to choose freely, and guided the troop with resolve rather than brutality. What followed was a rare balance and unfamiliar period where cooperation replaced intimidation. Was it the closest they had ever come to peace, perhaps? But in the wild, calm is rarely permanent. More often, it is only a thin surface, as concealing forces ready to rise at any moment. From the edge of the forest, where dense vegetation gives way to the open plateau, a pair of golden eyes flickered in the shadows. No branch snapped, no warning echoed. It was not a hyena nor a jackal. It was a leopard, the very predator that had once taken Timu's mother, and now waited again. Moru moved like a whisper through the dry canopy. A female smaller than the males, yet far more agile, silent, and deadly than most hunters in this land. She did not hunt for instinct alone. She hunted because she was a mother. 3 weeks earlier, she had given birth within a narrow, wind-sheltered crevice. Her cubs were too young to follow. Their eyes had only just begun to open, their fragile bodies dependent on her return. Every faint cry from the den was a relentless reminder Moru could not fail. She could not return empty-handed, nor allow her scent to betray their hiding place. Above, the brittle forest stirred with the morning breeze. Leaves cracked softly beneath the careful steps of a group of antelopes moving toward a nearly dry riverbed, searching for minerals in the salted earth. Closer to the ground, meerkats stood upright in turns, keeping watch while the others dug for insects. Their short calls, the scrape of claws, and the occasional low growl formed a constant tension that never fully faded. On the higher rock formations, vultures lined themselves against the wind, their gaze fixed on the territory where Timu had just secured his leadership. They did not descend yet, neither did they leave. They sensed what lingered beneath the surface, a quiet instability like embers hidden beneath ash. Amid all these layers of life, Moru moved without disturbance. Her body flowed between roots and brush with the ease of water slipping through soil. She did not disrupt the rhythm of the land, she became part of it. Here, no creature existed in isolation. All were bound by an invisible tension. When antelopes startled, meerkats fell silent, and vultures shifted their wings, it meant only one thing: death had passed unseen. As afternoon faded over the Ethiopian plateau, the final light of day stretched across the land, like a golden veil of dust casting a fragile beauty that briefly concealed the danger beneath. Slanting rays washed over low grasses, twisted trunks, scattered stones, and the still fresh tracks pressed into the earth. In an open clearing, Timu's troop rested under the soft glow of evening. The young gathered near exposed roots, while some females moved cautiously outward in search of food. In the distance, the shadow of the Pshkim horizon began to spread like a quiet tide. Moru advanced low against the ground, nearly invisible within the dry grass. The wind favored her. She did not need to climb or hide among branches. For a leopard, when the terrain is flat, the light blurs vision and the troop lowers its guard height becomes unnecessary. Patience, distance, and perfect timing are enough. Yet this time, what seemed like the perfect opportunity concealed an unseen risk. Timu had been waiting for this moment. He had detected the trail, sensed the unnatural silence in the vegetation, and for the first time his group did not retreat. In the deepening dusk of the Ethiopian plateau, where survival rarely leaves room for mercy, an old debt reached its conclusion. And Timu, the one once rejected and deemed weak, had become something entirely different. Not a creature defined by rage, but by the scars that taught him how to endure and ultimately how to redefine the rules of survival. Siberia is not merely an endless expanse of frozen ground or a land defined by shadowy forests where tigers roam. When summer arrives, these cold woodlands awaken, transforming into a vibrant ecosystem, where life surges back after a long, silent winter. Across the green meadows that emerge with the thaw, red deer graze peacefully, feeding on tender grasses and fresh shoots. These rich fields restore their strength, preparing them for the challenges that lie ahead. With the agility of their hooves, red deer move effortlessly across difficult terrain, whether climbing steep slopes or crossing deep stream beds. Their evolutionary history stretches back millions of years, reflecting an extraordinary ability to adapt to ever-changing environments. Emerging from prehistoric times, their reddish-brown coats have become a defining trait, allowing them to blend seamlessly into the dense forest. The impressive antlers of adult males are more than symbols of strength and dominance. They are vital weapons in battles for mating rights. Within the same ecosystem that sustains the Siberian tiger, red deer play a crucial role. By feeding on grasses and foliage, they prevent unchecked vegetation growth and help maintain ecological balance. At the same time, they are an essential link in the food chain, providing nourishment for the region's top predators. Far from solitary creatures, red deer often gather in groups of 10 to 20 individuals, typically guided by experienced adult females. Their appearance shifts with the seasons. In summer, the warm tones of their coats merge with shifting light through the leaves, offering natural camouflage. They possess highly sensitive hearing capable of detecting danger from afar, and when escape becomes necessary, they can reach speeds of up to 55 kilometers per hour, a decisive advantage against the hunters that pursue them. Summer in the tiger's forest unfolds as a season of color and movement when temperatures rise between 10 and 27 degrees Celsius. After months of winter silence, the landscape awakens into a dynamic and fertile world. Siberian pine trees stretch across the horizon in deep green layers, while larch trees cast soft, shifting shadows over the forest floor, creating perfect cover for a silent hunter, the Eurasian lynx. Its grayish coat, tinged with brown and scattered with dark spots, allows it to dissolve into bark and fallen leaves as if shaped by the forest itself. Emerging nearly 2 million years ago, this species has developed remarkable adaptations to survive the harsh climates of the northern hemisphere. Weighing between 18 and 30 kilograms and reaching lengths of up to 1.2 meters, the lynx balances strength with agility. Its short-tailed, dense, double-layered fur and the distinctive black tufts on its ears are all essential features for enduring extreme cold. Its hearing is so refined it functions like a living radar, capable of detecting the faint crack of a twig or the sudden flutter of a hidden bird. Within the same forests inhabited by the Siberian tiger, the lynx leads a solitary and elusive life. This environment is not only its shelter but also a hunting ground rich with smaller prey such as hares and rodents which form the foundation of its diet. By regulating the populations of these animals, the lynx indirectly protects low vegetation from overconsumption, helping to maintain the balance of the ecosystem. When it hunts, it favors the densest parts of the forest, where thick vegetation allows it to move unseen, closing the distance in slints before striking at precisely the right moment. Summer arrives across the plains of western Siberia as ice and snow withdraw, making way for a powerful resurgence of life. Great rivers such as the Ob River swell with flowing water carrying nutrient-rich sediments that replenish the lowlands. These waterways act like natural arteries, sustaining a vast ecosystem and ensuring that both the smallest plants and the largest animals find what they need to endure. In wetlands and open meadows, large mammals like the moose and red deer emerge to take advantage of the seasonal abundance, rebuilding their strength. At the same time, predators such as the gray wolf and the Eurasian lynx move silently through dense vegetation, using it as cover to approach their prey. Their movements are deliberate, almost artistic, each step part of a silent choreography where survival depends on precision. Beneath the gentle light of summer, the Lena River becomes a vital pathway not only for the plains, but also for the brown bear. Its fast-moving waters carry salmon returning from the ocean to spawn upstream. These fish provide an essential source of energy, allowing bears to recover quickly after months of hibernation. Salmon are more than just food, they are a lifeline. A single adult fish can deliver thousands of calories, and during peak feeding season, a brown bear may consume dozens of kilograms each day, building the reserves needed for the coming winter. With long, powerful claws, bears wait for the precise moment to seize fish struggling against the current. Each successful catch reflects instincts refined over millennia. Their thick brown fur blends naturally with riverbanks and forest shadows, offering effective camouflage. Beyond fishing, bears take advantage of other food sources found across the region. Tender grasses, wild berries, and roots from the wetlands complement their diet. This diversity not only ensures their survival but also supports the broader ecosystem. Seeds consumed by the bears are later dispersed across the land, contributing to the regeneration of plant life throughout the region. Under the clear blue skies of summer, the western Siberian plain stretches like a vast green tapestry where wetlands, dense forests, and winding rivers intertwine like veins that sustain the land. Within this tranquil setting, moose appear quiet giants moving steadily through marshy grasslands and shallow waters. Their presence is a reminder of life's resilience and nature's remarkable ability to adapt. Moose are the result of a long evolutionary journey that dates back to prehistoric times, shaped by cold climates and demanding environments. Over millions of years, they adapted to flooded forests and expansive wetlands across the northern hemisphere. From North America to Siberia. In this region, dense woodlands and swampy terrain provide the ideal conditions for their survival. Summer is when they reveal their full strength. With long, powerful legs often reaching over 2 meters at the shoulder, they move with ease through mud and soft ground, places where many animals would struggle. They favor areas near rivers, lakes, and forests rich in Siberian birch pine trees and larch trees, feeding on nutrient-rich leaves and fresh shoots. This abundance allows them to store the energy required to endure the extreme winter ahead. An adult moose can consume around 20 kilograms of vegetation each day, acting as a natural regulator of plant growth. Their role within the Siberian ecosystem is essential. By feeding, they help control vegetation density and maintain environmental balance. Even their presence shapes the land. Their droppings enrich the soil, while the deep tracks they leave in soft ground create small pathways that encourage the spread of grasses and shrubs, quietly supporting the continuous renewal of the landscape. When summer settles over Lake Baikal, its GBH deep blue waters seem to stretch endlessly toward the horizon. Within this vast and striking landscape lives the Baikal seal, the only freshwater seal on Earth, and a remarkable example of adaptation to an unforgiving environment. Yet today, its population, estimated between 70,000 and 100,000 individuals, remains far lower than in previous decades, affected by overfishing, pollution, and the growing pressures of climate change. Also known as the Nerpa, this species traces its origins back to ancient ancestors that once inhabited glacial rivers thousands of years ago. As the ice retreated, they became isolated within Lake Baikal, setting the stage for a unique evolutionary path that shaped them into specialists of freshwater life. They typically measure between 1.1 and 1.5 meters in length and weigh between 50 and 70 kilograms. A thick layer of fat combined with dense waterproof fur allows them to withstand the lake's cold temperatures. Their silvery gray coats reflect the summer light, mirroring the sky above the water's surface. During summer, as sunlight penetrates the lake's crystal-clear depths, these seals begin their careful hunting journeys. They can dive beyond 400 meters in search of the golomianca fish, a nearly transparent, nutrient-rich species found only in this lake. This fish plays a vital role in the food web and forms the foundation of the seal's diet. An adult may consume between 3 and 5 kilograms of fish each day to sustain its energy, travel long distances, reproduce, and care for its young. The Baikal seal's abilities extend far beyond deep diving. It is also highly agile underwater. Its large, light-sensitive eyes allow it to detect movement in dim environments, while its streamlined body lets it glide effortlessly through shifting currents. Every movement reflects precision and control traits of a well-adapted predator within its domain. Beyond its role as a hunter, the Baikal seal is essential to the lake's ecological balance. By regulating populations of smaller fish, it helps maintain the stability of the food chain and supports the overall health of the ecosystem, one that sustains a wide range of life forms. And so the battles of the wild reach their quiet conclusions, yet the struggle itself never truly ends. In this untamed world, there is no mercy, no second chances. Each sunrise brings a new trial, and each sunset leaves behind exhaustion, unseen wounds, and a silence that tells its own story. Here, survival does not belong to the strongest or the most beautiful, but to those who endure, to those who adapt, to those who learn from hardship and continue forward. In the wild, weakness finds no shelter, and even the smallest mistake can come at the highest cost. The victors do not celebrate because they understand how quickly balance can shift. The fallen are not forgotten, for their loss sustains the fragile continuity of life. Everything is connected: the hunter, the hunted, and the land that bears silent witness. This is not a cruel world, it is an honest one. A world where life defends itself with every heartbeat, and only those who stand firm can claim their place beneath the sun. There is no space here for fragility, only for those who endure. If this journey through the wild heart of the Serengeti has moved, you don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel Beast Call Nature. Join us in the next adventure as we continue to explore, appreciate, and protect the hidden wonders of the natural world.